What's up, everyone? Happy Football Friday. Good to have Jimmy back.
All righty.
Talking preseason week 2. We had a game last night. The first tie of preseason with the new rule that they put in a couple years ago. People keep saying a couple years ago. It doesn't feel like the no tie rule has been in for that long, but there it is. In Philly last night, Eagles 18, Browns 18. Um, I was pissed. I took live -2.5 for Philly,
Ouch.
and thought Tanner McKee had it. I thought he was going to drive him down the field and get the game-winning field goal for Jake Elliott, but got sacked on 3rd and long, and was not to be, I guess. But Dorian Thompson-Robinson got the start in this one. No Deshaun Watson, no Josh Dobbs. DTR continues to play well, 13 to 25, 52%, 164, 4 carries, 18 yards. Kellen Mond, similar stats, though, 12 to 24, 50%, 126, 1 touchdown in the second half to keep Cleveland in the game there. For Philly, though, Marcus Mariota played like crap, and I was so pissed because I had Eagles first half spread as well. 9 of 17, 52.9%, 86 yards, 1 pick. At least 3 occasions, 3 of those incompletions, he threw the ball high, including the interception that he had was a ball that was way too high over the middle. So, yeah, it was not a great night for Mariota. Tanner McKee, though, continues to play well as a 6th-round pick out of Stanford, 10 of 18, 55.6%, 147, 1 touchdown. So I was very happy with McKee. And like I said, DTR continues to play well for Cleveland in that QB3 battle there.
I think pretty soon you got to consider playing Josh Dobbs because, I mean, I watched this game and DTR and Kellen Mond both played adequately, in my opinion. So, I mean, I think you can make an argument that DTR deserves to be a second string quarterback, because, I mean,
Yeah.
Unless you really think Josh Dobbs is that guy automatically. I mean, I haven't heard much in terms of training camp news for the Browns, but I mean, I'm looking at DTR. I'm seeing QB2 right now, and I mean, Kellen Mond, he played poorly in the Hall of Fame game, but he really looked solid. I mean, there was that play. I can't remember if it was 3rd or 4th quarter. He just avoided every tackle known to man and got like an 8-yard first down. And I was
Mm-hmm.
really impressed. I was like, all right, this guy looks like he has a lot more command than he did in the Hall of Fame game. So I mean, I think preseason week 3 and 4. I think you gotta play Dobbs. I think you gotta see if Dobbs really has QB2 unlocked. Because I mean, DTR. I mean, I've been impressed. I've watched both of these preseason games, and he's got command. I mean, his percentage is his completion percentage is not great, but I mean he looks like he has command out there. He's gotten some great back shoulder throws, like him and what was his name, Watkins Jr. and Cedric Tillman. I mean, they had a couple of just back shoulder catches that he
Mm-hmm.
just put there perfectly. So I mean, I think I think you gotta like treat him like he could be QB2 instead of QB3.
No, yeah, I agree. I don't know why um, they didn't play Dobbs. And by the way, only 3 weeks of preseason.
Only 3 weeks. That's right. I forget. I keep having my mind back on the old rules with the NFL.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, preseason week 3, I'm not sure if we're gonna see Dobbs next week. Like you said, I think they should. It should be the Dobbs and DTR show. DTR should get the start. I would put him in anyways in the beginning of the game, then play Dobbs in the second half. But we'll see how Cleveland plays it going forward. Maybe they just don't want to put a rookie as the backup right now. But leading rusher in this one, Trey Sermon for the Eagles, 5 carries, 54 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. 1 catch for 14 yards. Good on him to come back from the fumble. The only time that the Eagles looked like they were moving it on with Mariota in. Sermon fumbled the ball on a screen pass. So, but got the touchdown then later in the game. So good to bounce back for Trey Sermon there. You mentioned the Browns wide receiver Austin Watkins Jr., two-time USFL champion with the Birmingham Stallions. And, I mean, he has to make the Browns roster at this point. He's played well in every game, just like DTR has. 7 catches, 139 yards, a touchdown, 14 targets. That's just massive workload for a preseason game. And I was pissed because in my DraftKings lineup, I had him in there originally, and right before the game, I heard DTR was starting, so I was like, "Nah, I'm not going to put Walk. I'm going to put DTR as the only Browns player in there." Yeah, so that worked out well.
Yeah. I mean, I was really impressed with the wide receiver depth across the entirety of the Browns team. I mean, we have Watkins and Schwartz here. You know, Schwartz did well, Watkins did well. I like Tillman too, that rookie from Tennessee. I was high on him coming out of college. I was a big fan that if the Vikings couldn't get a wide receiver in the first round, I wanted like Tillman in the second or third. I thought he was going to be really good, and he showed flashes as well. I think the Browns got a surprisingly good wide receiver group. I mean, you got Amari Cooper, you got Elijah Moore, and now you got a couple guys in this preseason roster that just really look solid. I think the Browns are going to have a really tough decision filling out the 4th and 5th spot on the wide receiving depth chart. I mean, they got some guys.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how the rest of the roster shakes out, you could make a case for the Browns to keep 7 possibly at wide receiver. But we'll see there. Yeah, like you mentioned, Anthony Schwartz, 10 targets, double-digit targets as well for him. 4 catches, 33 yards there. You had Brady Russell, rookie tight end out of Colorado, catching a 22-yard touchdown from Tanner McKee. And defensively, there's a lot of great performances in this game. But I'm going to go with probably I'm just going to pick an Eagle because I'm an Eagles fan. Linebacker Christian Ellis for Philly. 5 tackles, 3 solos, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection. He had a really solid game everywhere, fighting for trying to get into one of the starting linebacker spots is Christian Ellis. So good performance in that one. And also, I want to mention Nakobe Dean had a fantastic game as well in the first half when he was in, even though no, never mind. Nolan Smith got shaken up, unfortunately. But Eagles got hit hard with injuries in this one, 6 injuries total, I believe. Luckily, all the guys are okay, especially the 2 guys, Tyree Cleveland, wide receiver, and defensive tackle Moro Ojimo there, both getting carted off with head and neck injuries. Both have concussions. Cleveland has a neck sprain as well, but all doing well, though, seems like.
This kind of stuff happens when you're starting preseason. You're getting bumps and bruises for the first time in about 5-6 months. So I mean, this kind of stuff happens, and I always see coaches and training staffs just being overly cautious when it comes to preseason. Like these, I would say about half of these guys could have probably finished the game and just went, I'll face it later. But it's preseason. You take these guys out, you don't take that risk. This isn't a game you have to win. So, I mean, I watched the game. I mean, these injuries didn't seem overly concerning. I mean, I remember a couple guys getting carted off, but nothing seemed scary, I would say. It just seemed like, all right, we're abundantly cautious right now because it's preseason. These guys are young. This is probably the first or second time they're taking like real tackles in months. So, I mean, you play it by ear in preseason. You play very safe. So, if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm thinking, all right, they're playing it safe. I'm not worried. These guys are probably going to come back for preseason week 3, and at worst, they're just going to miss the last game.
Yeah, for sure. The Browns covered +4 and under 36.5 by the hook. Always
By
nice.
the Katie York Shanks, man.
Always nice for that to happen for the under betters there.
I don't know what it is about Cade York. I'm surprised we don't have him mentioned here, but man, like Cade York had this problem last year. I get he's a young kicker, but it feels like every time the second he misses a field goal over 40 yards in a game, he's not going to make one over 40 yards for the rest of the game. It really does feel like it gets to his head. Like he started the game really strong, went 3 for 3, made his kicks. Like there were no doubters.
Mm-hmm.
And then like he missed that one far right penalty on Eagles. And I'm watching and I'm like looking at his mannerism, like he's somehow going to miss another one, and he missed it far left. He overcorrected. And I feel like that's been Cade York's story since he was a rookie. Like when he's hot, he's hot. When he makes his first like field goals and just keeps the rhythm going, he's good. But man, once he misses one, he's missing everyone for the rest of the game. So that's a big concern for Cleveland, going forward.
Yeah. We'll see if they bring in any competition the last couple weeks here. Okay, let's move on to some news here. USFL news: the New Jersey Generals getting some players back, re-signing linebacker Colin Hill. Excellent season last year for the Generals linebacker. Good to have him back in the fold in Jersey. College football news. Just one thing we have. I guess it's not official yet. I haven't heard anything, but Auburn expected to name Michigan State transfer Peyton Thorne as their starter. I expected that all along. I didn't really. I can't remember who all was in that competition there, but I figured Peyton Thorne was pretty solid at Michigan State, so he would be the best option for Coach Freeze there in his first season for the Tigers. NFL news: former Lions and Steelers head coach Buddy Parker has been selected as coach contributor finalist for the class of 2024 Hall of Fame. Hyped about that. Steelers coach, so good on that. I was shocked when I got that notification. I was like, they picked that early, but I guess he's not the finalist. He's a finalist. So I guess there are going to be more. I don't know though. Coach contributor, and for the seniors are always a weird process. I don't really understand the seniors committee Hall of Fame process, but
Can I like grab the senior committee by the neck and tell them to put in Jim freaking Marshall anytime soon? Like, my God, how is that man not in the NFL Hall of Fame? Like, I'm wearing a Vikings shirt, so I'm obviously a homer. But what are they thinking? It's Jim freaking Marshall, the pinnacle of defensive ends. And you're telling me he's not Hall of Fame worthy when Buddy effing Parker? Who the hell is Buddy Parker?
hey
No
man,
offense, my Steeler fans, but who is this guy? You walk to a random NFL fan, any team, and you go, "Hey, you know who Jim Marshall is?" So I'll go, "Oh yeah, Iron Man, the one of the toughest linemen ever, played like 270 consecutive games in one of the most like physically demanding positions, played in 4 Super Bowls, multiple All-Pro, multiple Pro Bowl, like still to this day holds the record for most forced fumbles in NFL history." And you're telling me he's not like the seniors aren't paying attention to him? Like, who did he kill? Who did he kill to piss off the senior, committee? I'm about to go off. This podcast is over now. I'm gonna spend the next 35 minutes like Jim freaking Marshall should be in the NFL Hall of Fame. I'm kidding.
hey man, Buddy Parker was the pinnacle of coaching in the 50s, I believe. I believe he coached the Steelers in the 50s. It was
In the
pretty solid
50s,
with the Lions as well.
Pittsburgh in the 50s, though, they were awful, man.
Yeah. So he was the co-head coach of the Chicago Cardinals in '49, and then he coached the Lions from 51 to 56 and the Steelers 57 to 64. So he was like the he was like the guy that ushered in the Steelers, in the real Steelers in the 60s and 70s. Yeah.
I guess, man. I don't know. I mean, of any like senior contributors to the great league that is the NFL, I don't understand how you pick him over Jim Marshall. I don't know. I'll fight that to my grave. I mean, Jim Marshall should be in the Hall of Fame. It's like it's classless at this point. I mean, my goodness.
Another guy here, former Chargers tight end Antonio Gates. He is going to be inducted into the Chargers Hall of Fame on December 10th against the Broncos. So definitely worthy of that. Antonio Gates, other than LT, probably I would probably say Antonio Gates is the second greatest Charger of all time, right?
I mean, it's either him or Philip Rivers.
Yeah.
I would say. I mean that those mid 2000s teams of San Diego were dangerous. I mean, and it really was the offensive three-headed monster of Rivers, LT, and Antonio Gates. Like I remember like genuinely being shocked when they just wouldn't make it to the Super Bowl. Like it was just,
They lost to the Patriots.
that interception fumble to this day. I am just like I just think like imagine if that cornerback who had that interception just went down and just didn't try to get yards, just like caught it and just laid down. Like how much different would history be if he just made the smart play there?
Yeah. I mean, 9-point loss, the closest the Chargers got during the 2000s with Rivers and Gates and company there in the 07 season.
I mean, I'm looking at his Pro Football Reference page right here. I mean, you look from 2004 to 2011, you get 8 straight years of Pro Bowls. You have 3 All-Pro first teams and 2 All-Pro second teams. I mean, those mid 2000s, very early 2010s, like Antonio Gates was probably, other than Tony Gonzalez, the best tight end the league had to offer.
Oh yeah, for sure. And Gates ushered in the basketball to football transition for tight ends. So also a game changer as well.
Yeah. Good for him, man.
What was that?
I want to say it was good for him. I mean, he deserves it. I don't think he'll be long until he's in NFL. He's in Canton. I think he will be an NFL Hall of Famer. I mean, he defined that position for a very long time.
In Washington, Ron Rivera naming second-year quarterback Sam Howell as the starter. Expected. I was talking to a Commanders fan yesterday, actually, that I Ubered. And they were saying how is uncertainty about the quarterback's situation since Howell hasn't been officially named the starter. Well, there you go. He now is officially the Week 1 starter for the Washington Commanders. And, I mean, Ron has to. You got to hit your boat to the highest ceiling at this point because I don't think Josh Harris is going to give Ron Rivera a very long leash. And if they start losing games, I don't think it will be very long before Ron Rivera is not the head coach anymore.
Yeah. And, I mean, when he played last year, it was just a very, very, very short stint. But Howell played well. I mean, it wasn't awful.
Game.
It was a game. He did okay. And, I mean, at this point, Jacoby Brissett is a career backup. He's very solid. He's very reliable off the bench. But if you want to be a team that at least wants to act like it's making noise, you can't really start Jacoby Brissett.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I like Jacoby. I liked him when he played for Cleveland. I thought he was really good last year. I think he really stepped up in Sean's absence. He kept them a playoff contender. But you drafted Sam Howell to, eventually be that guy. There was a lot of hype around him. They drafted him. They had Carson Wentz. And there was a clear expectation that if Wentz was not the guy, it was going to be Howell. And right now, I think Commanders made the obvious move. I mean, you're high in a quarterback, you draft him high, you give him a year to learn how to play professional football. I think this is what you need to do. You need to play him.
Well, that's also the thing is like he was a 5th round pick, so he doesn't have any pressure
Yeah.
on him. He can play freely in his now first full off season in the NFL. But also on the other side, like I mentioned with Ron, if the season doesn't go well for Howell, I mean, Washington, Josh Harris, he'll get everyone new. He'll get a new head coach, new GM, new quarterback. Why not? You're a new owner.
Oh yeah.
Just your own people.
I wouldn't be surprised if I was a betting man, I would bet this would probably be Ron Rivera's last year. I mean, they have to unironically they have to win the NFC East if Ron wants to keep his job. And I really don't see that happening with the NFC East right now. I mean,
yeah, that's the thing. They have playmakers. It's just can Howell utilize them correctly.
Yeah.
NFI activation here. Raiders getting their first round rookie defensive end Tyree Wilson into practice finally, activating him off the NFI. So not sure if we're going to see him this weekend or not. Hopefully we get to see him preseason week 3 next week. But if not, we'll see what the Wilson Crosby duo looks like there in Vegas week 1.
Yeah. I mean, I doubt he'll play this upcoming the rest of the preseason. I think they're really just going to try to get him back in the game shape. And then I think he'll just start the season as a depth defensive lineman and just ease him in. Because, I mean, when you can't do a lot during the offseason due to injury, it's really hard to go from nothing to everything. So I think if the Raiders are smart, they're gonna say, hey, this is a top 10 pick. We don't want to ruin him right away. So let's take our time. Let's just let him get back in the game shape. Let's make sure he knows the playbook. Let's make sure he knows, his chemistry with his fellow defensive linemen. Let's take our time.
Well, a whole bunch of injuries occurring in practice this week, and also I mentioned last night for Philly, one at the end of this section here. But the starting out with Tampa, the Bucs wide receiver Russell Gage, he is done for the year. Knee injury Wednesday, carted off. I never actually heard exactly what it was, whether ACL, MCL, LCL, whatever, meniscus. But yeah, he's done for the year. So, and my USFL guy on Twitter, he's like, they need to look at maybe Corey Coleman out of the USFL. But I commented back, I was like, yeah, but they have a guy already to put in that third wide receiver spot. My guy, 6th round rookie, Trey Palmer out of Nebraska. I love Trey Palmer. Super fast, 4.3 40 speed, and made a great catch week 1 against the Steelers in the back of the end zone, toe tapping to get a touchdown. So if he's ready, I think the Bucs will be all right with putting Trey Palmer into that wide receiver 3 spot behind Evans and Godwin.
I mean, I would. I mean, I didn't watch much of that game, but I did see some things about Trey Palmer. I knew he was very good hands coming out of college, and I mean, he showed it. He had 4 receptions, he had 1 touchdown. I mean, why not? I mean, you have the wide receiver depth in Tampa was thin to begin with, and losing Gage is huge. I think you just gotta stick with what you got on the roster. Give Trey Palmer a chance. He played well, so might as well.
On the same day, it was kind of crazy because I was at Packers training camp with our guy Peter Zhang, and I was just like, in between segments of practice, I was checking Twitter and stuff. So The same day, though, on Wednesday, Titans wide receiver Traylon Burks goes down as well, carted off. Luckily for him, though, unlike Gage, he is okay. LCL sprain, should be out a few weeks, but week one looks like it's still in play for Burks there, and they need him. They, you know, before Hopkins signed, he was the only real wide receiver that they had. And now that they could have a 1-2 punch at wide receiver would make Ryan Tannehill's life a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really, it's kind of like the Buccaneers situation for me. That's a really weird wide receiver depth chart in Tennessee, and losing, I don't want to say like your best wide receiver, but probably your most consistent right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is,
Yeah.
is a big blow.
Yeah, and he just needs reps. I mean, got the concussion last year against the Eagles, was out I don't know 3 or 4 weeks there, and then was never really the same between the quarterback switches and everything down the stretch there for the Titans. But anyways, moving on to Baltimore, the Ravens corner Marlon Humphrey. He had foot surgery, out indefinitely. That's a massive blow to the Ravens defensively. Corner was their thinnest position on the roster, which is so weird because like 2 years ago it was the most deep when they had Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, all kinds of guys, and now it's one of their thinnest spots. So they signed Rock Yassin, luckily, so he'll start, and they're going to need some young guys to step up in Baltimore while Humphrey is out.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember they had a lot of depth back then, but they were also very old. I mean, and I mean, I'm looking at the depth chart right now, and I'm just seeing, I'm seeing kids, man. I'm seeing just guys that are 1, 2, at most 3 years out of college, just hoping for the best. You know? So I mean, you also lost Demarion Williams too. Wasn't that right? They also lost him for a little bit. I don't know how long though, but I think he's marked as hurt.
Yeah, ankle surgery for
Oh
Damien
man,
Williams there.
yeah.
Fourth rounder last year out of Houston. So yeah, I mean they're gonna need journeyman Daryl Worley. They just signed Ronald Darby, kind of giving away one of our signings on the free agent signing segment there. But I'm pulling a Logan because he does that all the time. But yeah, I mean they're gonna need Jalen Armour Davis. Really isn't an outside guy. He's more of a slot, a nickel to me. But yeah, I think Ronald Darby is going to come in, step into that outside corner spot right away because I think he's their best option there in terms of starting corners. So,
Yeah.
Detroit here, Lions wide receiver Jameson Williams. What more can go wrong for him? He has a hamstring injury now, likely out for the rest of the preseason. So, see you in week 7, Mr. Williams, after he serves his 6-game suspension for gambling violations.
Yeah. I mean, that kid cannot catch a break, it feels like. Some of it is just self-inflicted wounds, like the gambling thing. But man, I remember last year Vikings traded with the Lions to give the Lions that pick, and I remember Viking fans, including myself, were not happy about seeing Jameson Williams going to the Lions. But I'm guessing that our GM saw something in Williams that he didn't like and was very willing to trade back. And right now he's being proved right. I mean, Jameson Williams has 1 reception. It's a touchdown. We don't talk about it because it was against the Vikings. But he's got 1 reception, and he's going to have only 1 reception in about 1 1/3 year career after being a first-round draft pick. Like, this is bad. Like, if you're the Lions right now, like, I don't know what you do because I mean you lose Williams, you also lose Dunzo Mims. I mean that wide receiver room is weird. You know?
Yeah, well, they got Amon Ross still. They re-signed Khalif Raymond. They got Marvin Jones back. So, I think it'll be okay, especially with the running with Jahmyr Gibbs now in play. So we'll see.
Yeah.
The Eagles, I mentioned they got hit hard with injuries last night, but one guy got injured on Monday in practice. Linebacker Hassan Reddick hurt his thumb, had surgery on it, but there's not a lot of concern right now. Should be ready to go week 1, they said. So I'm not really worried about it either, especially because of how well Nolan Smith has played. I know he got hurt last night with the shoulder, but seems like he's okay. So with how well Nolan Smith has played, even if we have to ease Reddick into the first week or 2, I'm very comfortable. Nolan Smith has played lights out so far in camp.
Yeah. I mean, you also signed Cunningham and Jack over the offseason. So I mean, I don't think even if even if Reddick has to miss maybe a week or 2 just to fully heal, I mean, I don't think that linebacking core is going to take too much of it. I think they'll stand their ground. So I mean, again, not the end of the world. Like most of the Eagles' injuries, it feels like this offseason, it just feels like a lot of precaution. Just a lot of just as long as surgery goes well or as long as recovery goes well, the train will keep moving.
Yeah, I don't like that he's listed as a linebacker because he plays defensive. Same thing with Nolan Smith. They play stand up DN. They're just 2-point stance DNs pretty much.
Yeah, that's what Daniil Hunter is on the Vikings.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "Oh, he's an outside linebacker." He's like, if I see Daniil Hunter going back in the coverage, we're going to lose the game because that's not what he's paid to do. Like, do not let Daniil Hunter. Yeah, like they have Daniil labeled as weak side linebackers. Like, no, he's not. That man is not a linebacker.
Yeah. Well, also with the Eagles last night, bad news. Corner Zech McPherson had a great game. Got targeted a lot by DTR, but some ups and downs. Missed some breakups that he could have had, but otherwise, I thought he played very well. But he is done for the season. Torn Achilles last night, so a hit to the Eagles' corner depth, which is interesting because now maybe Josiah Scott makes the roster. I know the Eagles broadcasters were talking about him last night. He was playing in the second half as a nickel. But now maybe Josiah Scott, who has played for the Eagles in regular season a couple times and had 4 starts last year, actually, could make the roster now. For Indy, last 2 injuries here. The Colts losing a couple guys for the season. Wide receiver Ashton Doolin tore his ACL, and defensive end Jannard Avery, LCL and meniscus injury, both out for the year there. So not major ones, but I think Avery is the harder one to hit the roster than Doolin because they needed some defensive end pressure. Obviously, they're getting push in the middle with DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart, but I know defensive end has been an issue with them lately, especially Yannick Ngakoue no longer there.
Yeah. I think if you're a Colts fan, you're really, really hoping for a massive improvement from Kwity Paye. I mean, he did a little better last year than he did in his rookie season, but I mean, a grand total of 10 sacks in 2 years is really not going to cut it from a defensive end that you draft from in the first round. They're definitely going to have to expect more from this kid. But yeah, I mean, that defensive end, depth is not fantastic. They got a lot of young guys, and they're really hoping that they really step up, like, El Denabo and Kwity Paye. But if they don't step up, I mean, defensive end is one of the most important positions on defense, and if they don't play like the guys they expect them to be, you're in a lot of trouble because you don't have that veteran depth like you had with Ngakwe. I mean, you just need these kids to step up.
Yeah, luckily for the Colts, it's a rebuilding year.
Yeah, I mean, you want them to step up at the same time. It's like your expectations are still pretty much to the ground.
Yeah.
You're hoping Anthony Richardson has a good year, and you're just hoping the young guys show some improvement. But yeah, I mean, the world's not going to end if they don't play well, but you're really hoping they take a step up, and prove to be players that you look at and go, yeah, you deserve to be on this team when we eventually start contending.
One release here, you mentioned it earlier. The Lions waived with an injury designation wide receiver Denzel Mims. He had an ankle injury, and then during rehab, he got a calf injury. So he is not going to make the team here, which luckily for Detroit, that gets them 2 picks back. The conditional trade with the Jets for Mims was that he makes the 53-man roster, which he will not. So they get their 2025 6th and 7th round picks back from the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Mims is going to be a free agent for long. I remember the Vikings have a lot of interest in him. I remember, what other team was it? I think it was the Chargers that liked him a lot. It was either Chargers or Rams. I think it was a team that played in LA that liked him.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're a team that wasn't able to trade for him, you're probably just going to be monitoring his injury recovery, and I think he probably gets signed a couple weeks in the season to a team that just needs wide receiver depth or loses a pretty big wide receiver. And if Mims makes good recovery on his injury, I think a team's going to go, all right, let's give him a shot. Let's give him a contract through the end of the year. I like Mims a lot. I think he got the short end of the stick in New York a lot. And this injury is very unfortunate. But I don't think he'll be a free agent for long. I would really be surprised if he didn't end the season on a roster.
Yeah, I think he'll be back in Detroit once he's healthy, and they'll just re-sign him.
Yeah, this might be a way to circumvent the trade.
Yeah, pretty much.
I have an NFL investigation into that, though, because the Lions, they need more controversy with their players.
Yeah. Some free agent signings here. The Ravens getting some pass rush help that they desperately needed. Signing Browns defensive end Jadeveon Clowney, 1 year, $6 million deal. Gonna fit well in the rotation with the O pass rush, Owe and Ojabo there.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, he's still very solid. He was good with the Browns. It's weird to think he was a first overall player way back in the day.
At this point in his career, from what I saw with Cleveland last year, he's definitely more of a run stuffer than a dominant pass rusher like he used to be. So,
yeah, he's depth. I can't slander a team for getting depth for 1 year. Clowney is, what was it, 2 or 3 time Pro Bowler. He's been around. He's been on good teams. He's been on bad teams. He knows how to play the game. He's only 30, right? Yeah, he just turned 30, so it's like, all right, I like both these signings for the Ravens. Yeah, especially the cornerback one, because with Marlon Humphrey going down. But yeah, smart moves by the Ravens.
And like I mentioned, the Ravens also signed Broncos corner Ronald Darby, 1 year, $3.2 million. So yeah, again, I expect him to be the week 1 starter. Yeah.
Hey, that's Super Bowl champion Ronald Darby to you. Yeah.
His former team, the Broncos, signing a Sean Payton dude. Of course they are. Saints running back Dwayne Washington. Sean Payton loves Dwayne Washington for some reason. I don't know why. He absolutely just loves Dwayne Washington. Special teams, third down receiving back. That's what he's going to be if he makes the roster, that is. Broncos have some good depth at running back. So we'll see if Dwayne can do anything in Denver.
Yeah, I mean, I've got nothing really to say to that one. It kind of reminds me of what signing was it? It was that Ram sighting when they got that like Johnson the third guy back. It just kind of felt like this doesn't do much. It really just feels like Sean Payton wanted some depth in his running back room and just saw a guy he used to coach and said, "All right, bring him back."
And then a couple visits. The Giants hosting Cowboys linebacker Anthony Barr for a visit. Also has visited with the Saints recently. So Barr's still trying to figure out find a team, but let's see. Your guy, Anthony Barr.
My guy. Funny story about Anthony Barr. Was it the 2014 draft that he was drafted? We had the 7th overall pick, and my just idiotic self hammering the pine to get Johnny Manziel. I wanted Johnny football, and then we drafted Anthony Barr, and I flipped. I was like, "Are you kidding me? We got this no-name linebacker from UCLA over Johnny football," and glad we didn't. I will always look at Anthony Barr with a lot of joy because I'm like, thank God you're not Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, pretty solid, solid return on that one.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm kind of surprised he's still looking. I mean, I don't know what he really did with the Cowboys. I felt like he was just more depth linebacker, but I mean, he's good. I mean, he's not the fastest guy in the world. He's not great in pass coverage, but he's solid.
Yeah, can help that Giants run defense. The Dolphins hosting Chargers corner Bryce Callahan for a visit. Crazy. A couple years ago, Bryce Callahan was the class of nickel corners, and now he's just reaching at straws trying to find a job at this point. But good place to start trying to find a job in Miami where they desperately need corner help with Jalen Ramsey out. So I think that'd be a great spot. And he already knows the defense, played with Vic Fangio in Chicago. So familiarity with the scheme. I think it'd be a good fit for Callahan in Miami there.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
One XFL signing, the Falcons. They signed Brahmas linebacker Delonte Scott. Falcons have been one of the couple teams that have been signing a lot of XFL, USFL players. So no surprise they signed another one. Delonte Scott, excellent season for the Brahmas. Hopefully he can make the roster in Atlanta. And then the USFL to NFL Jets, they signed Showboat's corner Nehemiah Shelton. Don't like that one as much, even though it is my Showboat's guy. Corner is one of the positions that the Jets are pretty solid already on. So I don't know how much of a chance he's going to get. But anyways, to play, get film out there in the NFL. So. All right, let's talk about preseason week 2 here, as I don't see any other news on the feed. Tonight we got 2 games. First up, the Panthers 0-1 at the 0-1 Giants. Giants getting 3 points at MetLife here. Total is 38. 7 p.m. NFL Network tonight. Obviously Bryce Young's going to play. Hopefully they play him more. I'm looking for, possibly a quarter of Bryce Young in the ones. It's going to be another tough test. The Giants defense is no joke. I don't think they're as good as the Patriots, but or the Jets, I mean. But I still think it's going to be a good test, especially the Giants' front. Panthers' offensive line has to play a lot better than they did against the Jets. But hopefully Bryce can get some rhythm and get some points on the board in this game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I am looking at the under. I like the under in this one. Both defenses are pretty solid, and I don't really know. I haven't heard anything on whether Daniel Jones and the starters are going to play for New York. I would think they are, given the spread is in the Giants' favor. But even so, Tommy DeVito played well last week for the Giants. He'll play in the second half. We'll see how much we see of Tyrod Taylor in this one. But the biggest issue, I think, spread-wise, is that the Panthers' backups did not play well. Matt Corral struggled last week. Again, the offensive line was the biggest issue for Carolina. But we'll see if Corral can play better, and I'm not really expecting it. That's why I'm picking the under. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points in this one because of both of the defenses. The other game tonight, 0-1 Bengals at the 1-0 Falcons. I don't know why. This is crazy. Falcons getting 6.5 at home tonight. Total is 38.5, 7:30 p.m. tonight. You can watch it on NFL Plus. But I was shocked when I saw the 6.5. I was like, did you not watch the same game I watched in Miami last week for Atlanta? Now, maybe Desmond Ridder and the starters are going to play this game. Logan Woodside played the entire game last week for Atlanta.
Yeah. This also might be a sign that, like, no Bengals starters are playing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though. I would expect the Bengals starters to play. Obviously, we're not going to see Joey B. But I think that the Bengals quarterbacks did not play well last week against Green Bay. They struggled a lot. It's going to be interesting to see which guy gets the start, because I mentioned this on Tuesday. Jake Browning got the start, and he's actually listed as the second quarterback. I was shocked when I watched that Packers game last weekend that Browning was starting over Trevor Siemian. So we'll see if I expect it to be Browning again, I guess, now that he's listed as the QB2. But I didn't think Browning played bad. Siemian didn't play well. But hopefully I have a teaser with the Bengals in it plus 16.5. So hopefully they can cover that and not get blown out like they did against the Packers last week. But yeah, I'm interested to see the Falcons if they play the starters, get our first look at Bijan possibly in this game.
Yeah, I think that's probably just going to be the biggest storyline of this game. Just how does Bijan do against a very solid defense in the NFL?
Yeah. But yeah, again, the quarterback battle for QB2 in Cincinnati is also something to watch in this game with Browning against Siemian. I don't really have a play on the total. I would look at the under, though, in that one as well, based off how the Falcons played last week. They needed a punt return touchdown and a pick six to win the game against the Dolphins 19-3. So that's something.
Yeah. I might be crazy here, but I think they might hit the over. I have a weird feeling about this game hitting the over.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think this is an over game. I mean, I think I think both teams have just, even though mostly the starters aren't really going to be playing, if they are too much, I think there's a lot of decent offensive power on both sides. I think they might get a couple back-to-back scoring drives. I think the over is going to get hit.
They both scored 19 last week, so
It's going to be hilarious when the final score is like 9-3.
all right. The big slate tomorrow. Most of the league playing there. It's a quadruple header once again on NFL Network. So first one up, 1-0 Jags, 3.5-point favorites at the 1-0 Lions. Total for that one's 39.5. 1 p.m. NFL Network. We'll see if we get the Lions starters, because we didn't in week 1. Trevor Lawrence and the Jag starters did play last week in Dallas, so maybe we expect them again. I think they had joint practices though in Detroit this week, so maybe they don't play. But yeah, I think the Jags looked pretty good in Dallas last week in terms of the starters, other than the interception that Lawrence threw. But the Lawrence to Calvin Ridley connection looks solid at this point in training camp. And for Detroit, it's all about the defense. How does the defense look? Do they have an inkling of who the linebackers are going to be? That's one of the bigger position battles for the Lions D.
Yeah.
For that one, I don't really have a feeling on the total. I would probably look at Lions spread though, possibly. I don't know. That's a game that I'm kind of staying away from though. Dolphins 0-1 at the 1-0 Texans. 2-point favorites at home is Houston. Total also 39.5. 4 p.m. NFL Network. Miami, we're not going to see the starters. Mike McDaniel doesn't play his starters, so it's going to be another week of Mike White and what's his face? I forget the other guy.
What's his name?
Thompson, Skylar Thompson. Yeah, that's the guy.
My guy, Skylar.
Yeah, Mike White, Skylar Thompson. It's going to be another week of those guys. I would expect, anyways. I don't believe in the couple seasons that McDaniel has been in Miami. I don't think he's played his starters at all in the preseason. So, and for Houston, we're going to see CJ Stroud again. It's the same thing, though, just like Bryce Young. Does he improve from week to week? Even though he's not going to go against the Dolphins starters, the Dolphins defense is still deep, and they're still good, even the backups. So just like Bryce Young again, I'm going to go back to Bryce Young again. It's going to be another week of a tough test against another good defense there in Miami. So we'll see. We'll see how CJ Stroud does. Third time I'm going back to Bryce Young, though. Offensive line for Houston got pummeled last week in New England. They got to play a lot better.
Yeah. And I mean, this may be reading too into it, but I think if CJ Stroud just another one of those performances like he did against the Patriots, I think you got to consider starting a season with Davis Mills as your starter. Because it really does. I remember watching that Patriots-Texans games and just watching him, and CJ Stroud just looked like a deer in headlights at all times. And to me, the solution doesn't really hinge on whether or not the offensive line is actually as bad as it is or not. Because if it is bad and he's screaming for his life, the best thing you can do is not put him into a position where he's dying every single week as a rookie. And if they are good, that's an even bigger stain on CJ Stroud, because then it's a reflection of him just not doing his job correctly and not being ready to be an NFL quarterback. So, I mean, I think if you're Stroud, you have to look at this game and be like, listen, I have to play like I deserve to be the starter in week one. Because, if I'm the head coach of the Texans and I see just another absolute dud against Miami, like we saw against the Patriots, you got to start Davis Mills in the beginning of the season. Because, I mean, I don't see how CJ Stroud could start the season as QB number one after, that.
Yeah, well, he's the only one of the top 3 quarterbacks that hasn't been named the week 1 starter so far.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're definitely onto something right there. And Davis Mills played better than him last week against New England. So, yeah.
I mean, and he's not a world beater, but his 2 years as a starter in Houston has been adequate enough, Plus, you have Case Keenum, too. I mean, if it gets bad, I would almost think CJ Stroud is QB3 on that depth chart behind Mills and Keenum. I mean, if it gets that bad, it gets that bad. And maybe you just need to give him the Patrick Mahomes treatment of just saying, like, hey, you're not starting your rookie season.
Yeah, Davis Mills is my guy. I absolutely love Davis Mills, even though he didn't play well last year. But
no one on Houston did.
And plus, CJ Stroud's a Ohio State quarterback, so
yeah. I always tell people, like, when it also comes to Justin Field too. It's just like I've never seen a quality quarterback come out of Ohio State. And as a fan of the rival, oh my God, I have never heard more like chest beating from Bears fans after having the worst record in the NFL. Then they genuinely think they have a shot at the division. Justin Fields is not a good quarterback, and he has not proved it yet. I'll give him the benefit of saying yet. But this guy is 0-8 in the NFC North in his entire career. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. In that game, I like the under again. Mike White, Skylar Thompson, y'all. That's all you got to know. That's all you got to know.
Skylar Thompson's going to sky it out. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's an easy under for me. I mean, even if I were to lose that bet, I wouldn't even care because back. All right, like it was so obvious. I don't even care if I'm wrong.
All right, good one. I think this might be the best matchup this weekend in the preseason, possibly. The 1-0 Bills are 1-point favorites on the road in Pittsburgh against the 1-0 Steelers. Total is 42. That is the highest of the weekend. 6:30 p.m. Tomorrow. Kind of mad this wasn't on NFL Network or any other networks. The Steelers got shafted. Their first 2 games aren't on any primetime special networks. Their last one is on NFL Network, but yeah, I think this game is going to be really solid, especially if the Bills play their starters like they did in week 1. I know the Steelers probably will play Kenny Pickett and company again. Looked excellent in Tampa Bay. Looking for them to do it again. I mean, the Pickett to Pickens connection is on fire right now. George keeps making one-handed catches in practice. And the Deontay Johnson connection also last game was really solid. Had 3 catches on the one drive they had. So I'm excited about this Steelers offense, and the Young Bucks on defense played well also. Keanu Benton at nose tackle and Nick Herbig at outside linebacker, both Wisconsin Badgers. So, yeah, I'm really hyped to watch the Steelers tomorrow.
Yeah, I like that game. I think if I had to choose a game to watch on that day, it would definitely be that one. I think right now they're probably just – I don't want to say obviously they're not the best teams, but I think what you're seeing now is probably the most complete version of both of these teams. You know who's the starter basically at every position. At this point, it's really just, okay, let's figure out the rest of the depth chart. I mean, the Bills are the Bills, Steelers are the Steelers. I think we're going to get probably the least ugly game of the preseason, if that makes sense. I think you're going to see teams that, like, both of these teams are just going to be, a little more crisp with their passes, better with their play call. People aren't going to be missing assignments. I think this is going to be a really good one.
Yeah, and for Buffalo, one thing, if you want one thing to watch for the Bills, it's the corners. They're still figuring out who is going to be the guy opposite of Tre'Davious White, whether that's former first rounder Kyer Elam, Teron Johnson, and the incumbent Dane Jackson also in that mix, as is 2022 sixth rounder Christian Benford as well. So all four of those guys fighting for that one spot. Teron Johnson, probably they don't want to put him there. They like him at nickel, so they'll probably keep him there. But the other three guys definitely got a shot at it, and they're just hoping and praying that Kyer Elam takes the spot, since they spent high draft capital on him. I don't really have a play on that one. I know it's the highest total of the weekend, but I would go over. I mean, Matt Barkley played well last week, as did Kyle Allen for Buffalo. Mitch Trubisky played not great for the Steelers, but Mason Rudolph played well last week in Tampa. So I expect high quality play, kind of like what you said, throughout most of the game here. Next one is the 1-0 Bears at the 0-1 Colts. Colts getting 5 at home. That's ridiculous. Total is 37.5, 7 p.m. NFL Network. And can we see what we saw last week out of Justin Fields and the offense? 2 drives, 2 long catch and run touchdowns. Can we see Justin Fields throw the ball more than 5 yards?
Yeah, that's what I was about to mention. I mean, that Tennessee defense was just embarrassing. I mean, you had two basically just screen passes go for like 50 yards and score a couple touchdowns on you. That's not a pretty sight. I mean, I think if you're the Bears, you got to really just be prepared for the Colts to play in on you, kind of like expect them to play close to the line, expecting you to like do a lot of short passes. So, Justin Fields probably is going to be forced to open it up this week. I think he got the benefit of the doubt last week. Titans were playing him back. He played it short, and he benefited from it. But I think the Colts are going to play it smarter. I think Colts are going to say, all right, we're going to play up on him, and Justin Fields is really going to have to, have to figure it out.
And for the Colts, how does Anthony Richardson play coming off being named the starter for week 1? Got to play better than he did last week. But, yeah, I mean, it's kind of trial by fire in Indy right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. No JT, so we'll see Deion Jackson again as the starting running back, I expect. But yeah, I have the Bears. I mean, I'd be comfortable taking the Bears +5, even though the backups for the Bears offensively didn't really play well. But they did get some offense from Tyson Bagent, actually, the undrafted guy out of Shepherd, Mark's guy out of Shepherd there, which he sent me an article today about. There's a quarterback conundrum backup quarterback conundrum now with Nathan Peterman, that QB3 spot. PJ Walker really didn't play well. Neither did Nathan Peterman, but Badgett gave them some offense. So we'll see if he gets some more run in this game than he did last week or not. But yeah, I like Chicago +5, and I actually have them as a teaser. I think I got them at plus like 14.5 or something like that. So yeah, I hit on their teaser last week. So I would love. I'm rooting for the Bears for a second straight week in a row. Total wise, I like the under in that game. So yeah.
Yeah, under makes sense. I think the Colts offense has kind of been iffy, and other than their starters, Bears offense has also been kind of meh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The 0-1 Bucks at the 1-1 Jets. Jets getting 3.5 at home. Total is 37. 7:30 tomorrow night. Kyle Trask is going to start this one. Baker got to start last week. Struggled until like drive 3 or 4, and then finally got the touchdown in there. Kyle Trask struggled a little bit against the Pittsburgh pass rush. So we'll see how Trask does with the starters this week. It's not going to be fun. Can tell you that against that Jets defense. So good luck, sir, Mr. Trask. But that's the thing we're looking for in Tampa is how do the quarterbacks play? That's the biggest battle there. And for New York, we're not going to see Rodgers. We so I mean,
think for New York, your biggest concern is your offensive line. That offensive line for basically most of this offseason has just been a big question mark for everyone. I remember seeing just basically every interview with Aaron Rodgers just going back to the issue of that offensive line, and he's very much been, I wouldn't say dodging the question, but just being very coy about it. Just being like, it's fine, But it's like, it's very obvious this offensive line really needs to step up. Like, you expect a lot more from a lot of these guys, and they're just really not looking good in training camp and just not looking great during preseason reps, which gives me reason to believe a big reason why Aaron Rodgers will not play a preseason snap is because of just how inconsistent they've been.
Yeah. Well, one other thing I'll say with the Jets is Zach Wilson has looked really good in both of their games so far, especially last week in Carolina, had command of the offense. And I'm looking for him to do that again against and like I said, again, with the Bucks, when we recapped the Steelers-Bucks game, the Bucks, even though, all the talks about the quarterback and offense, their defense is still pretty decent. So it'll be a good test for Zach Wilson against the Tampa defense.
Yeah, that's still a very good defensive line.
Yeah.
Vita Vea is fun to watch.
And Tim Boyle rebounded after his poor Hall of Fame game, played well last week in Carolina in the second half. So I like the Jets -3.5. I think the Steelers blew them out in Tampa. So I wouldn't be shocked to see the Jets do the same in MetLife. I think the Jets had the better backup quarterbacks, and the depth on the defensive line really showed in Carolina last week throughout the remainder of the second half. So I think they're going to get after Baker Mayfield in the second half of this game, and the Tampa offense is going to struggle once again to score. Total is 37. I'll go with the under because I don't think the Bucks are going to score enough to get that thing over.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very quiet offensive game from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah. All right, the 0-1 Chiefs 7.5-point favorites at the 1-0 Cardinals. Total is 40. 8 p.m. tomorrow. And I think we will see Mahomes again. We saw him in New Orleans on Sunday. We should see him again here. And the Cardinals had a comeback victory last week behind. Trying to remember who the quarterback
Was it David Blau or Clayton Tune?
Clayton Tune, or no, Blau. Yeah, Blau. Blau got him to come back in the fourth quarter there and win the game on 2-point conversion, I believe. I could be wrong, but maybe it was. No, I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was David Blau. But
I'm checking.
yeah. Anyways, should see Patrick Mahomes. I am unsure if we're going to see Colt McCoy. I can't recall if he played last week or not.
He did play. He went 4 for 4 for 17 yards.
Okay.
Nothing special.
So well, yeah, we should see him again. Anyways. And yeah. I mean, the biggest thing of the Cardinals is the defense and Clayton Tune. That's been the talk of Cardinals camp so far, the rookie quarterback out of Houston. I think the Chiefs win this one. I have them teased in one of my teasers down to -0.5. So I like that. Think they're going to win this game though, based off the backup quarterbacks. Blaine Gabbert played decent last week in New Orleans, as did Shane Buechele, and even Chris Oladokun played decently, even though they lost that one. But yeah, I really don't have much on the Chiefs other than the starters.
I with the Chiefs, you know what you got. When it comes to starters, I'm kind of surprised as a 7.5-point favorite, especially with the expectation that Mahomes doesn't really play more than a drive.
Mm-hmm.
But and I mean, Cardinals are coming off a win, so I mean, unless there's an injury we're both missing, I'm kind of surprised at that spread. I would take Cardinals plus 7.5.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not too comfortable on it, but I like the teaser. I like the tease down to a half for the Chiefs. Total, I'm going over because they had a decently high scoring game against New Orleans last week, and the Cardinals scored 18 against the Broncos. So I would lean over on this game, even though it is one of the higher ones at 40.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think there's a lot of scoring depth on both of these teams. I think you got a lot of guys fighting for positions, wanting to get into the end zone, trying to find their spots. So I think this hits the over.
And make sure for Arizona to keep an eye out for my guy, Michael Wilson, third-round pick out of Stanford there. Excellent player that I think is going to have a big role this year. 0-1 Titans, 2.5-point favorites at your Vikings, who are 0-1. Totals 37, 8 p.m. tomorrow night. And I'll let you roll with this. This is your team's game.
My boys, the Minnesota Vikings, who have not won a preseason game since 2019. That's right. That is right, ladies and gentlemen.
The reverse Ravens.
Of all teams. But I watched them last week. I mean, I really liked Nick Mullins. I really did not like Jaren Hall. Offensive line depth is rough. There's by the second half, it felt like Jaren Hall. I couldn't tell if I didn't like Jaren Hall because I thought he was bad, or I didn't like him because he just couldn't get any time to do his job. But yeah, the Vikings just have a lot of question marks. The Vikings and Titans also had joint training camp this week, and it got pretty chippy at times. There is a play. I can't remember who did it. Hold on, I'm looking it up. There was a play that got a lot of looks. One was really bad for the Vikings. One was really good. Tier Tart. He's a defensive lineman for the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, not Minnesota Vikings, Tennessee Titans. He went up against our starting center, Garrett Bradbury, and just threw him to the ground, getting to the quarterback. I mean, like, threw him to the ground, looked over him, and just went boom right to his face. I mean, it was pretty ugly. And I mean, if that's how the season's gonna go, offensive line wise, I mean, rest in peace to Kirk Cousins. I mean, have some fun, man. I hope you do well. Another big story from that training camp. I forget who it was, but it was they were doing game drills, and the Vikings were on defense, and the Titans were on offense. And Malik Wilson throws it into double coverage in the end zone and gets picked off. And the Vikings cornerback that picked it off grabbed the ball and slung it to the Titans sideline. I mean, just threw it as hard as he can. And it got chippy from there. So I expect this game to be kind of mean. I think the joint training camp really made these guys not like each other. So I mean, other than that, the only real storyline I got from the Vikings right now is it looks like Ivan Pace Jr. is going to move up that depth chart and possibly start. Brian Asamoah, he's pretty solid, but he's been nursing a couple injuries, and he's kind of a question mark right now. But Ivan Pace has just looked fantastic. He looked really, really good against Seattle, and I think he definitely deserves some starting time. So you're going to see a lot of him in the first half. Vikings aren't nursing a lot of injuries, so I think you're expecting just about everyone to play. Maybe Kirk plays. I highly doubt it, but maybe. Yeah. I mean, if Kirk doesn't play, I don't think you'll see Jefferson or Osborne or Hawkinson. But yeah, I mean, still, we haven't won a preseason game since 2019. It doesn't seem like we give a damn about winning a preseason game. And personally, I would take the Titans for this one. I think Titans have a lot of players with a lot to prove. I think you're going to expect Malik Willis to really just try to step up. He's had some bad throws in the joint training camp, but I think he's expected to do a lot better. So yeah, I mean, I hate to go against my boys, but I have to for this one. I think if I were a betting man, I would take Titans minus 3.5 and over under at 37. Man, that's the problem with the Vikings right now. It's they had 17 points in the first half against Seattle, but second half they could only muster up 3 points. So I mean, it just depends on how much you give Jaren Hall and those third string linemen in terms of looks, but I would take the over. I would take the over on that one. I think the Vikings get at least 17, and I think they'll probably lose to the Titans. But yeah, I mean, I wish I could say more about the Vikings and be more hunky-dory about their chances, but our offensive line in training camp has just looked really rough, and it looked really bad last week in Seattle, and I think it really affected us in the second half, and Jaren Hall just had a horrible second half. I mean, other than that pass to N'Keal Harry, there really wasn't a highlight in the second half offensively for the Vikings. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to watch good football, turn this game off at halftime, so you don't have to watch the second half of the Vikings trying to figure out how to throw the football with an offensive line that is, worse than a pylon. So yeah.
Yeah. My thing for this game is, do the starters play Ryan Tannehill or Kirk Cousins?
I saw
And
Kirk take a lot of reps in the joint practices, so I think maybe he'll get a drive. I haven't heard much about Tannehill. He took a lot of individual practices with just Titans personnel during the joint training camp. It was mostly Malik that took all the reps in the joint practices. So I don't know. I think this is going to be another just Malik Wilson game.
yeah, if it's a Malik Willis, Will Levis game, then I am not so sure that the Titans win this one, based off what they looked like against the Bears last week.
I mean, they still put up some points. I mean,
and for the Vikings, yeah, I think Nick Mullins looked pretty good in Seattle. Jaren Hall's got a lot of work to do. So for that reason, I like the under because of the inexperience at quarterback for both sides. I really wasn't impressed with the two Titans young guys. Wasn't impressed with Jaren Hall from a guy that I really liked coming out in the draft. Jaren Hall I really liked, even when he dropped down to the 5th round there. So for that, I like the under 37. And that's really what I'm watching in this one.
I would say,
play.
As a Viking fan, I almost wish they threw out Jaren Hall in the first half and let him get to play with at least a starter or two on the offensive line, because man, he looked very uncomfortable, and I think it would do a lot for him if it was just like, hey, we're gonna let you take a drive in the first quarter. You're gonna have Jordan Addison, you're gonna have Jalen Rager, you're gonna have Nick Muse, you're gonna have you're gonna have the starting, a starting lineman or two. So that's what if I had my choice, I would definitely I would get Jaren Hall just a first half drive just to give him someone. Because I mean, there's only so much you can do with guys like Dwayne McBride and N'Keal Harry and freaking Christian DeLauro. God, Christian DeLauro.
Yeah.
Blech.
All right, the next game here, 0-1 Patriots at the 1-0 Packers. Pack getting 2.5 in Green Bay. Total is also 37 for this one, 8 p.m. as well. And this is the one I have the most insight into, watching Packers Patriots practice. Love the alliteration there, right, on Wednesday. But from what I saw in that joint practice anyways, both defenses played very well. Mac Jones struggled a little bit. Jordan Love also struggled. Got some rhythm, though, when he got in on the second possession with the ones. But I think they're going to be good. The Packers played very well last week in Cincinnati. And I am looking forward to my guy, Sean Clifford, Penn Stater, playing well again. He played well in that joint practice. Had the throw of the day. Beautiful sideline bomb to Malik Heath for a touchdown, pretty much right on the front pylon, on the right side of the end zone. But so that's what I'm looking for is Sean Clifford. Also, undrafted running back Emmanuel Wilson had a fantastic week last week, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Looking for him. For the Patriots, their defense is going to play well again. And my guy Bailey Zappi, I'm looking at him. Other than that, the biggest thing the Patriots have to do in this game is, from last week anyways, is throw the ball down the field. they had most of their passes were all within, like 15 yards. So they have to throw the ball more vertically than horizontally. And we'll see if they can do that in this game.
Yeah, I'm starting to worry with Bill Belichick. I think he really wants Mac Jones to be Tom Brady, and he's not. Mac Jones really likes putting the ball over the field. Oh, Mac Jones likes to take more risks than Tom Brady, and I think you really got to build an offense around that. Like it was very clear last year, Mac Jones really did not like the conservative offense he was forced to run,
Mm-hmm.
and if you continue to like make him play like a game manager who dinks and dunks and gets you 5 to 6 yards of pass play and just a lot of curl routes and not much yards after catch, it's probably going to drive him nuts. I think you really got to open this offense for him. I mean, you got wide receivers that can do it. I mean, you went out and got Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, you got Mike Gesicki. I mean, and sure, like Devontae Parker was statistically one of the worst wide receivers last year, but I think Devontae is kind of like Mac Jones. Devontae's not a short dink and dive wide receiver. You got to get Devontae down the field, and I think
Mm-hmm.
if Bill O'Brien can't figure that out after Mac Jones having to spend 1 year with Matt Patricia as an offensive coordinator, I think you're gonna see Mac Jones demand his way out of there because this offense is way too conservative for Mac Jones. And I get Bill Belichick has basically run the same offense for 25 years and it's won him 6 Super Bowls. Good for him, but you got to mix it up when you have a new quarterback.
Yeah, and I think especially with Bailey Zappi, coming from the Western Kentucky offense, and even before that, the Houston Baptist offense as well, spread football, um, throwing deep bombs, and hurry up also. But obviously, it's pro style now, and stuff. But
Yeah, another guy I'm pretty interested in seeing. I wonder if they're going to give Malik Cunningham some more reps.
mm-hmm.
He looked really solid. I mean, I think you got to give him a full quarter and just kind of just let him sling it because I mean, he moved in the pocket. He looked all right. He made the right plays. He didn't. I don't. Did he turn the ball over? I don't think he did. He looked all right. I mean, I think you gotta give Cunningham a couple more reps out there.
Um, yeah, I don't really have a play on that one.
But hey,
So
we're gonna see Yorkville High School Foxes alumni Jason freaking Lawan really kill it out there. I got a good feeling. I already put my entire mortgage on him getting 2+ sacks in today's game. I mean Saturday's game. So if he doesn't do it, I'm homeless. So
number 60 out there.
my guy. Yeah,
Um,
you sent me a picture of him while I was down in Florida, and I was just genuinely shocked at just how massive the kid was.
yeah,
I looked at him, I was like, holy, like he was a big guy in high school, but like I didn't realize this guy was almost 300 pounds of muscle and like 6'7". I was like, holy crap. And the funny thing is, this is going to be me crapping on my high school, from way back when. I would never in a million years think anyone from my high school could even sniff an NFL roster because the senior year of my senior year of high school, our football team went like 0-10. So like when I saw that Jason Lawan became an undrafted free agent of Packers, I was like, holy crap, someone from my high school ended up on a football roster? That's bull. There's no way. But yeah, hey, good for him.
yeah. Indiana State, right?
No, Illinois State.
Illinois State,
Yeah.
same thing.
Go Redbirds. Might as well. I mean, they both have birds that are red.
Anyways, How about the 0-1 Broncos? 4-point favorites at the 0-1 49ers. Total is 39.5, 8:30 p.m. Yeah, I mean, I think the Broncos win that game. We'll see Russell Wilson hopefully better than last week, and hopefully Sean Payton isn't as pissed as he was at the starters, making them go out for a few extra drives, because it didn't look great against a team that is probably going to have the number 1 pick in the Cardinals next year. So against the definitely a little bit harder defense against the 49ers, we got to see Russell play better.
Yeah, I mean, the Broncos did everything to make this team better for Russell. They got him a very good offensive coach that works really well with quarterbacks. They got him some talent. I mean, you really got to prove that you're not cooked, and it starts now. Like, everyone gave you the benefit of doubt. I would say I gave him a lot of benefit of doubt last year because I think the Broncos coaching staff was just wholly unprepared to give him an offense that worked for him. But I mean, hey, like, if you come out and look sheepish against one of the worst teams in the NFL, even though it's preseason, you can't look sheepish. And then you're going up against the 49ers, who have a very good defense. But I mean, you better have spent the last week really figuring it out, because if you give Broncos fans reason to feel the exact same way they did halfway through last season, like, you're public enemy number one. I don't know if there's any, like, I don't know if there's any chance of getting that off your ledger. Like, any chance of Russell Wilson being considered maybe a borderline Hall of Famer is gone if he doesn't figure it out.
They're going to be calling Jarrett. Oh,
they're going to be calling for John Elway to come out of the owner's box and just throw a couple. I mean, he's not even an owner anymore. That's how bad it's going to get.
And for the 49ers, it's sort of the same thing. I mean, we're not going to see Brock Purdy. So Trey Lance is going to get the start again. And he played like absolute crap in Vegas last week. Has to play so much better. And it was really bad. It looked really bad for Trey Lance. Whenever Sam Darnold came in and played better. I mean, Sam Darnold didn't play the greatest either. They were another team last week that the offensive line was just horrible. But Trey Lance is year 3, bro. I know I talked about it on Tuesday. He's had all the injuries and stuff, but it's year 3. You gotta go. So that's why I think the Broncos are going to win this game. They have the better roster, especially at the quarterback position. From what I saw with San Fran's quarterbacks last week, I just do not trust Trey Lance to win this game.
Who do you think's under more pressure right now, Trey Lance or Russell Wilson? Because, I mean, you got a couple quarterbacks that are just not making the contributions.
Wilson.
Yeah. You gave up a lot to get Wilson. I mean, San Fran did give up a little bit of draft capital to move up and get Lance.
Yeah, but they pretty much already made Brock Purdy the starter. So
yeah, that's true.
Trey Lance is a backup. I mean, now that he's playing badly, though, like Sam Darnold could take the backup spot, which is even more an indictment of Trey Lance's bad play.
Yeah, that's rough.
But yeah, I like the Broncos -4. Or if you want to, I don't know what the juice is on the money line, but I would be more confident in the money line than the 4 points. And for totals, I'd like the under in that one. I'm not going to play it, but I would definitely strongly lean under because of the quarterback play.
Yeah.
The 1-0 Raiders, 3.5-point favorites at the 0-1 Rams. 40 for the total on that one. 9 p.m. Aiden O'Connell. That's the Raiders. That's the Raiders storyline right now. Is the 4th-round pick out of Purdue lights out last week at home against San Francisco. We'll see. Can he back it up? That's what I'm looking for Vegas, anyways, because he's going to get the start again. Since Jimmy G's not going to play this preseason. And for LA, it's another rookie, Stetson Bennett. Played. I thought he played decently last week. So should be some good quarterback play in this one. I like O'Connell, and of course my guy Stetson. I love him. Go Dogs.
Yeah. It's going to be the game of the unusual quarterback. Stenson and Aiden. A couple unusual late draft picks. Was Stenson even drafted, or was he UDFA? I always forget. He was
Yes, Stetson was actually also a 4th-rounder.
Really? I thought he was drafted much later.
No, he was a surprise because I had him later. I had him in the 6th round, but yeah, he went in the 4th round. And maybe I overhyped Aiden O'Connell. Maybe Aiden went in the 5th.
Yeah. I see Stenson's 4th.
Oh no, I was right. Both 4th-rounders.
Let's go. And that's why we're not GMs.
Love one. I will be eventually. Sometime before I'm 50. But yeah, I really like. I think the quarterback play is going to be pretty good in this one. I do lean the Raiders. I'm not so sure about 3.5. The Chargers crushed the Rams last week, but yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Aiden O'Connell, Zamir White as well, getting more work this week. And the Rams, they got a lot of positions to fill with undrafted free agents, so they got a lot of young talent, especially defensively. So I lean Raiders.
Yeah, I have a bad feeling for the Rams this year. I think you said you thought the Cardinals were going to get the first overall pick. I think it might be the Rams. I genuinely think they're that bad.
The offense is not bad. It's the defense that's the issue.
I don't know. I mean,
It's like the Vikings.
Watch it. I don't know. I don't like that offensive line. I don't trust Stafford to have a fully healthy season. And other than Aaron Donald, I don't know anyone on this defense. I really think this team maxes out at like 4 wins.
Yeah, so the total is 40. I'm leaning under on that one, just because as much as I love Aiden O'Connell, Stetson Bennett in the second half, since it seems like the Rams are still putting Brett Rippon ahead of Stetson Bennett on the depth chart. So I lean under though.
I think this game might be a surprise over, not because that there's good quarterbacks. I think it's because both teams have just horrific defense. I think there's in the second half you're going to see a lot of just short yard passes just turn into just 30-yard breaks out of nowhere because of a busted coverage of a young, not very good undrafted free agent on one of the teams is just going to like completely miss a tackle or not be where he's supposed to be in the zone coverage. I think I got to go opposite you there. I think this hits over, not because there's some unbelievable talent in the QB room of both of these teams. I think there's just some absolute duds on the defense in both these teams, and they're just going to give up yards in the second half that a competent defense would never give up.
Yeah. Well, the Raiders' defensive line played very well, surprisingly, last week, so that could also be a factor in my under decision.
Maybe.
Last game tomorrow, the 0-1 Cowboys at the 1-0 Seahawks. 7-point favorites is Seattle at home. 40.5 is the total. 10 p.m. NFL Network. Now Not sure about the starters for the Cowboys again. I would think the spread means that we're not going to see Dak and Pollard and those guys for the second straight week. Maybe though we do see Geno out there. We didn't get to see him last week when the Seahawks played the Vikings, but maybe we get to see Geno and the other guys. Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to play though, of course, being a rookie. Had a great game last week. We'll see if he can put another one together in this one. And yeah, that's the backup quarterback spot for Dallas is a point of contention in this one. Cooper Rush versus Will Grier. Will Grier, I think, got the better of Cooper Rush last week, so we'll see which guy plays better this one.
Yeah, I think that's just the biggest. I think that's the biggest offensive question mark for Dallas right now. Is just who's that backup quarterback, and who's gonna fit into wide receiver 4.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I didn't get to watch last week's game for Dallas, but I didn't really hear much in terms of just receivers. What was his name? What was it? What was his name on Dallas? He had a couple good receiving plays. Oh, John Stevens Jr. I don't know if is he even still on the friggin' roster? I have no idea. But he had a solid game.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe he'll continue a hot streak in the preseason, prove himself to be worthy of the 4th or 5th spot. Yeah.
Well, I'll say the other tight ends. I think there is a tight end battle as well in Dallas. I'll say both of the top 2 guys played pretty well last week. Got some catches. Jake Ferguson, second-year guy out of Wisconsin, 4th rounder last year, and second-round pick Luke Schoonmaker this year. I thought out of Michigan played well also last week. So tight end battle could be something to watch for Dallas. For Seattle, Drew Lock was the story last week. Played excellent in his couple series that he got. The who was? Does it just go Lock to Ehlers? Yeah, I guess so. I think both the quarterbacks played well last week. Holton Ehlers, undrafted out of ECU. So maybe that's why the Seahawks. I think they do have the better quarterbacks. So maybe that's why the Seahawks are 7-point favorites. I don't like that line though. That's a lot in preseason. And I don't really have a play on the total. I would lean over though. I think over is a good shot in that game.
Yeah, Seahawks did really well offensively against the Vikings last week. So I would go over. I think both these teams are known for their offensive power. So, I mean, easy over in my opinion.
We have a Sunday night football game. The 1-0 Saints, 3.5-point favorites at the 1-0 Chargers. Total is 38, 7:05 p.m. on NFL Network. And for New Orleans, I would assume that we're going to see Derek Carr and the starters out there again. Excellent first drive. One drive for Derek Carr last week, scoring a touchdown to Keith Kirkwood. Michael Thomas caught a ball. So I think Alvin Kamara was running well as well. So I think New Orleans is going to look pretty good. Jameis Winston played pretty well also. And my guy, I love Jake Haener, fifth rounder. Maybe it's another 4th rounder. I don't remember. I get jumbled around. But Fresno State kid.
Yeah, 4th rounder.
4th rounder, dude. I'm on 4th rounders.
Come on. Who's hiring you as their next GM? I mean, whoever does, they're gonna be very happy.
Jake Haener played excellent last week, also in the second half. So looking for those guys. And for LA, not sure if we're going to see Herbert. I would hope we do because they need some live game action in the new offense with Kellen Moore. So, And I also want to see how my MVP bet is gonna look.
Money on Herbert?
I did. I put money on Justin Herbert just this week to win MVP because of the offense that I know Kellen Moore runs. So hopefully we see Herbert and the starters a little bit in this one. Then we'll see Easton Stick, Max Duggan. Max Duggan struggled last week in the second half against the Rams. So we'll see if he can improve upon his week. But yeah, I think this is another game where I'm just watching quarterbacks.
That's fair.
And I'm gonna go with the Saints spread -3.5. Like I said, I think they had the better quarterbacks. Easton Stick didn't play terribly against the Rams, but again, it's against the Rams. Just disclaimer there. So I think against the Saints defense, which I believe is pretty good. Top half of the league type of defense at the very worst. So I think the Saints can cover that 3.5. And for the total, I don't really have a play on that one.
It really could be either or. It just really depends on whether these quarterbacks just go out and just start slinging it.
Yeah, for sure. And we also have a Monday night game this week. The 1-0 Ravens. It's a Washington battle. Well, it's a DMV battle, I should say. The 1-0 Ravens, 1 point favorites at the 1-0 Commanders. 38.5 is the over. 8 p.m. ESPN. I don't think we're going to see Lamar. So means we're going to get another look. And I haven't heard anything yet on which guy is going to start. If I'm Baltimore, though, I'm starting Tyler Huntley. They started Josh Johnson last week. Huntley played way better than Josh Johnson did in that QB2 backup battle. So I'm starting Tyler Huntley if I'm Baltimore, if they don't go with Lamar. And we'll see if he can get another week of good play. For Washington, we're going to see Sam Howell and that starting Washington offense under Eric Bieniemy there. I think they played well last week against Cleveland, and I would expect them to play well again against the Ravens defense. That's pretty decent, but mentioned the issues in the secondary there. So,
yeah. So do they break the streak for the Ravens?
No, because I think that the backups played pretty well. I mean, it depends if Josh Johnson can play well this week. That's the biggest thing, because the second half is going to be Josh Johnson and Anthony Brown. You got Jacoby Brissett and Jake Fromm. So, no, I think the quarterback play still favors Baltimore a little bit. But no, I don't think Washington is the team to do it. I thought Philly was going to do it last week, and they fumbled the ball in the second half. So, yeah, but I'm surprised it's only 1 point. I like it. I'm taking the Ravens -1. Why not? Keep hitting it until they lose, right? I mean,
Got it.
And they've only not covered their spread in their streak of 24 straight preseason wins. I believe they have not covered the spread in only like 5. So I don't know the exact stat, but it's something low like that out of the 24 wins that they really haven't. They've covered most of their games that they've won in the preseason. And total, I like the under. like I said, I think Tyler Huntley is going to be the best quarterback in this game, possibly. Other than, I mean, Sam Howell is pretty good, but in terms of the backup quarterbacks that are going to play, I think Tyler Huntley is the best one out of the 4 or 5. And I think the second half there really isn't going to be a lot of points scored with Josh Johnson, Anthony Brown, Jacoby Brissett, Jake Fromm. So I'm looking at the under in that one.
Yeah, I think both of these offenses are kind of iffy right now. And yeah, I mean, I think the under's a pretty decent one to take. I mean, unless Sam Howell comes out and just absolutely, I would say unless Sam Howell plays an entire half, I really don't know how you really hit the over.
Yeah. And that is a preseason week 2, y'all. We'll be back on Tuesday, recapping all the games. It'll be quite a long show to recap all of them, but we'll do it. And then we'll take a look at preseason week 3. We got 2 games on Thursday night to talk about on Tuesday. So we'll look at those 2 games after we recap week 2. And of course, give you all the news and notes from around NFL, college football. So don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on X and Instagram, at FAA_bets on X as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on Facebook, YouTube, and X, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Thank you, Jimmy. And we'll see you back on Tuesday when we are in school.